So Arknights Endfield has just released a new gameplay video after a long period of silence. In this video, I'm going to go over the details in the demo as well as my own speculation and thoughts about Endfield. Just remember that all of these are subject to change and mostly based on my own opinion. We will know for certain when we get our hands on the game ourselves. Let's get this out of the way first. The graphics are amazing. Look at the reflection on the puddles. Look at the model. Look at the environment. My goodness, this is the most beautiful gacha games I've seen so far. It also seems that they keep the usual Arknights minimalistic UI as well, which is a good thing. And since the demo itself uses English, I think we can expect full English voice actors from day one. You will find no complaints from me on this part. When I first played Arknights several months ago, I was pretty surprised with the depth of the gameplay. It is deceptively simple to play, but very hard to master, especially if you have limited amount of operators to play with. Personally, I think this is a good space to compete in an open-world mobile market. Because let's face it, most open-world mobile games are pretty mindless when it comes to combat. Basically, just grind your dailies and spam all of your abilities in combat with a little bit of dodging or healing. And I think you can apply that to all mainstream gacha games as well. Arknights is a bit different because it appeals to a more niche and hardcore player base. If you ever played Arknights, you will know that the game always finds a way to mess you up if you don't respect its mechanic, even if you're fully maxed out your operators. I'm hoping this will also be the case for Endfield, so it targets more hardcore players and using more skill-based abilities rather than just plain numbers game. From what I can see in the demo, the enemies seem to have some kind of armor mechanic where you must break the armor using particular attacks to stun them. That is quite familiar to me because I have played a post-Honkai Odyssey mode in Honkai Impact. If it's anything similar to that game, there may be different classes of characters that are more proficient in breaking those armor. So you do need to think how to engage this enemy and set up your team. Speaking of which, it is quite interesting that you only have 4 abilities that seem to correspond to each character in your party. Whenever you use that ability, you switch place with that character. Active characters are noted with the yellow mark on their icon. Each ability also seems to have charges marked by the circle around the icon. Every time you use it, the charge is increased by 1. When it is full, that ability transforms into ultimate ability before swapping back to normal ability at 0 charge. That is an interesting mechanic, but possibly can get annoying. What if you want to save that ultimate for future encounters? Does that mean your character can use their normal abilities? I'm also not quite sure that 4 abilities is enough to make hardcore players happy. It just seems to be too simple and makes every combat dependent on the levels of the abilities instead of the skill of the player. And beyond that armor mechanic, I don't see this gameplay mechanic capable of carrying a long live service game. If this is anything like post-Honkai Odyssey, it gets boring rather quickly. Like, give it 50 hours tops. As for the open world gameplay, the world feels dead. Seriously, it looks wonderful, but it doesn't seem to be filled with many interesting points. No wildlife, no landmark, it just feels empty. The earlier demo, however, from last year shows a more vibrant environment. But you can notice that they didn't pan on the camera up to show the skyline and the distant vista, which is the big promise of open-world games.
That mountain is not just a backdrop. You can walk all the way to the top of that mountain.
There is also no telling how big the game world will be. I know that size doesn't matter if it's gonna be all empty all around, but so far we only see 2 biomes in the game, a desert and this cliffside terrain. The bigger emphasis in this new demo is in the construction part of the game. You're supposed to build a lot, like resource processing, watchtower, and even create your own zip lines to travel around quickly. It is a welcome change from the usual chest hoarding gameplay in open world games. I am getting tired of the usual open world trope of gathering chests and doing collectathons. The ability to construct anything at any place is quite exciting, but I wonder if it's going to get annoying really quickly for most players. It is so easy to turn this mechanic into an idle grindfest. I highly doubt that they are going for Factorio or Satisfactory type of gameplay, but in my opinion, one of the must-have is the ability to change the camera to top-down view during construction and some auto-snapping function, if they really want to dive into this base construction part. Still, this new demo doesn't show much in terms of exploration. We do know that there will be some puzzles from this earlier demo, but that's pretty much it. We also have no idea how many bosses in the game, which is going to be a make or break moment for me. Bosses are great, but bosses in gacha games are used to grind for progression, which makes them boring rather quickly. Now, it is basically expected that this game will have a gacha mechanic to get the character you want, but I think it'll be very optimistic to expect Hypogryph to be as generous. In Arknights, they have to be generous because every game needs 12 operators. In Endfield, you only need 4. Each operator is going to be harder to make with its 3D model complexity, so if they go into the same content cadence as Genshin, we're looking at around 1 rare character every 2 months or so. But I doubt they'll be too stingy. In terms of generosity, they are going against Hoyo first to attract new players, so we can expect similar rate at around 4 months of daily grinding for a guaranteed gacha. It is also quite interesting that this demo uses PC keyboard layouts instead of mobile. But looking back at Genshin's first demo, they also used PlayStation layouts. So I guess that tells me nothing except the spec you need to run this game. On PC, yes, this will be available on PC. The recommended specs is RTX 2060 Super with Core i5 10600K. That is a mid-range PC. Now compare that to Genshin at GTX 1060 and any recent i7 processor, I guess it's not a surprise given that Endfield looks more detailed. Personally, I will definitely need to upgrade from GTX 1650 because it will barely scratch the minimum requirement. Aside from the gameplay, the writing quality in Arknights is one of its strongest selling points. So I am fully expecting a high writing quality here. Endfield is more of a spin-off that keeps the franchise core identity, but with an entirely new cast and settings. For example, animal traits exist in the characters, but not Rhodes Island. Originium exists in Talos too, but not nomadic cities. Probably because that will raise the minimum specs to Core i9 or more. The goal of the story seems to be to reach the north, which is pretty open-ended and remains vague. We do have this amnesia plot for our main character similar to Arknights, but this time, we can actually see the face for our character and choose their gender. There's also a unique chance here to explore the theme of colonization. It is heavily hinted that the Endfield Industries is a newcomer to this world. Perhaps we can get a plot similar to Mass Effect Andromeda's Pathfinder. As for the character, I do hope that we will have something similar to Genshin's story quest for every character, but better. This is a part that they can't afford to do wrong, because unlike Arknights, there won't be a lot of side story events exploring different regions of Talos 2. It's going to be very difficult to do that in the 3D space. Remember, despite all of this speculation, we still have very little information about how fun Endfield will be. Right now, I'm leaning towards the not fun part, but maybe this game is not made for me. So, I am cautiously optimistic. I will, however, at least give it a try. On a more personal note though, I do hope they succeed. We need to shake up Hoyover's monopoly over gacha open world games. If anything, just to raise the writing quality. Because seriously, Genshin is not doing work on their writing. but that's just me. Let me know if you guys want to hear more of my opinions on Endfield by liking the video and subscribing. So, Endfield, yay or nay? Are you excited to play it? Let's talk about your concern in the comment section down below. And with that, I think I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.